Okay, so what if we could teach an AI to speak the language of life itself? I mean, really understand it. Well, a fascinating new paper in Nature Biotechnology shows we are right on the verge of doing exactly that, and it's about to change pretty much everything we thought we knew about biology.
But let's start with a kind of a mind-bending question. What if a huge chunk of all life on Earth, right here, under our noses, was a total and complete mystery?
Well, that's not some sci-fi hypothetical. That is the actual reality for biologists right now. We can read the DNA of countless organisms, no problem. But when you get to the proteins, the tiny machines that do all the work in our cells, we are functionally blind to what at least a third of them do.
And this vast, vast unknown is what scientists are starting to call the dark matter of the protein universe. And you know what? Just like in space, it's this invisible majority that's holding some of the biggest secrets.
Think of it like this. The book of life has millions and millions of pages that we can now read, all thanks to DNA sequencing. The problem is, we can't understand what millions of those pages are actually saying. We've got the words, the protein sequences, but we don't have the meaning, the function.
And this isn't some small academic problem. I mean, proteins are the fundamental machinery of all life. But our main database for this stuff, it's called Pfam. It's grown by less than 5% in the last 5 years. Progress has just been painfully slow, and this knowledge gap holds back everything from medicine to biotech.
So you have to ask, what's been holding us back for so long? To really get why this new paper is such a breakthrough, we've got to take a quick look at how scientists have traditionally tried to solve this puzzle. Okay, so the state-of-the-art tools, things like BLASTp or HMR, they basically work by searching for similarities. You take an unknown protein sequence, and you try to find a match for it in a giant database of proteins where we already know the function. It's really just a high-tech pattern matching game.
But here's the critical flaw in that whole approach. It's like trying to search a library by matching sentences word for word. It works great if you find an exact match, or a very similar phrase. But what happens when a protein evolves over millions of years? Its sequence, the words, can change dramatically, even if its function, the meaning, stays exactly the same. And in those cases, the word-for-word search just completely fails.
And that right there, overcoming that failure, is where this new research just changes the entire game. Instead of matching words, what if an AI could actually learn to read the language of proteins?
Meet ProtCNN. It's a deep learning model, and it works on a totally different principle. It wasn't trained to match sequences. Nope, it was trained to look at the raw building blocks of a protein, the amino acids, and predict its function directly from that. Now think about that difference for a second. It's not matching, it's understanding. And really, this distinction is everything. The traditional methods, they're stuck matching sequences, so they get totally lost when proteins are just distant relatives. But this new deep learning approach, it's all about understanding the fundamental grammar of how proteins are built. And that's what lets it see the function, even when the sequence looks like nothing we have ever seen before.
And this visualization, wow, it really shows the magic that's at work here. The AI just takes in all these chaotic, jumbled protein sequences, and then it organizes them into this beautiful, meaningful map. Every single dot you see is a protein, and the colors represent their function. Just look at how it clusters proteins with similar jobs together, even if their sequences look totally different on the surface. It's literally discovering the hidden order in the chaos.
Okay, so the map looks cool, I get it. But does it actually work any better? Well, the researchers put it to the test in a head-to-head competition, the new AI versus the established old guard tools.
So the researchers designed the ultimate challenge. They forced the AI to identify the function of proteins that were only distant cousins of anything it had ever seen in its training data. Now, this is the hardest problem in the entire field. It's known as remote homology detection because it's the only way to find truly new functions, not just rediscover what we already know.
And the results are just staggering. I mean, look at this. On this incredibly difficult test, the classic tool, BLASTp, got it wrong almost 36% of the time. The best traditional method, something called pHMM, cut that error rate in half, down to about 18%. But the AI? It just crushed it with an error rate of only 12.2%.
Let's just visualize that for a second, because it is pretty dramatic. Just look at the difference there. On the absolute hardest cases, the AI made way fewer errors than the best method that came before it. This isn't just a small improvement. This is a major, major leap forward in accuracy.
So what does a victory like this actually mean in the real world? All right, let's get to the payoff here. Mapping millions of mysteries.
Armed with this powerful new tool, the researchers went back to those millions of mysterious, unannotated proteins, and they were able to confidently predict the function for, get this, 6.8 million new protein regions. Now, to put that number in perspective for you, those 6.8 million new annotations, that represents a 9.5% expansion of the entire database of known protein families. To get that same level of growth, it took the entire global scientific community the better part of the last decade.
And it gets even more personal. This discovery includes assigning a function to 360 proteins in the human body that, until now, were complete mysteries. We're talking about proteins operating inside of us right now, and we had absolutely no idea what they were doing.
So how in the world did they achieve this massive leap? Well, this is maybe the most important takeaway of the whole thing. It wasn't about replacing the old tools. The real genius was creating a dream team. They use the traditional methods for the easy matches, but for the really tough, uncertain cases, they bring in the AI as a specialist. And when both the old guard and the new AI agree on an answer, that's when you get a result you can absolutely take to the bank.
And this teamwork in action is just incredible. For instance, take this human protein, Q96HJ9. For years, total mystery, but the AI predicted its job was related to mitochondrial ATP synthase function, which is just the fancy scientific way of saying it helps our cellular power plants generate energy.
Now, this was a connection that the old methods like BLAST simply couldn't see. The protein sequence was just too different from any known examples. But the AI, it understood the underlying language, and it made the call. And the best part? Later on, experiments by other labs proved the AI was exactly right.
And it just leaves us with this one really profound thought. For decades, huge chapters of the Book of Life have been written in a language that we just could not understand. And now, it looks like we finally have a translator. So the question is no longer if we can read it, but what incredible secrets are we going to find now that we can?